Okay.
Now we're official.
Yes. Now we are official.
All right. Well, thank you everybody for joining us for the June 25th meeting of the Cooperative Forecasting Group. And first item on our agenda is the approval of minutes. And Matt had circulated the minutes for everybody to review. Did anybody have any comments or corrections? If not, we'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
Well approved.
All right. We have a motion and a second. Jeff? Okay. So we have a motion and second. All those in favor of approving the minutes, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? All right, the ayes have it. No opposition. So the minutes are approved. All right, so now we'll be looking at population estimates and components of change dashboards, and I'll turn it over to Matt for that.
All right. Thank you. Let me go ahead and get this switched over to where I'm sharing my screen. For people who hopped on before we started or after we started recording, I was mentioning before we got started that this will be a more abridged type of meeting. I'll be able to give everybody a little bit of time back today. We're gonna roll through, I guess, a recovering or just a continued discussion of the population estimates that we talked about in April. That was a lot of information that I presented, and it was a lot of static data to where it was a lot of discussion and not much participation in there. Or participation with the data, I would say. And I wanted to make that a lot more accessible for everyone here and for you to share with anyone else on staff or any other stakeholders that you have that may be interested. So I am going to go ahead and get the dashboard for that pulled up. One second, bear with me. Okay. Can everyone see the screen that I have pulled up?
Yes.
Great. I'm gonna go ahead and put this into presentation mode. Did that switch over for everyone as well?
There we go. Yeah, it just switched.
Okay, perfect. So what we're looking at here is just a more accessible version of all of the PEP data, so the population estimates program that we covered in April. So this is going to be updated population estimates for 2024 and also the components of change that go along with that. So births, deaths, migration, all of this we've talked about pretty extensively before. So this is the most recent version. There will actually be an additional addendum to this dropped on Friday, fingers crossed, if they put it out on time. That will include estimates by age, sex, and race. So we'll be able to have additional data added to this as well. And this is meant to be to where you can build upon this and we can add more data as we go along. So whenever this gets posted live to our Tableau public, right now it is not. This is meant to be a kind of trial run to where I can get a little bit of feedback from everyone here on any type of design elements or additional data that you may need included. But this is meant to be a platform that you can go to directly to get all of this data, aside from going directly through the census or downloading and cleaning all this data yourself. So this is meant to be just an additional tool. Everything that you can see here is going to have our kind of functionality kind of instructions to go with it, a brief description of what the population estimates program contains for anyone who's not familiar with it. I have included the link to the raw data as well that is provided by the census that you can see right here, and also instructions on downloading it directly from Tableau. So this is meant to be data that can be accessed by anyone who is pulling this up. This is all publicly available data, so this is meant to be freely accessible for all. So this will be the landing page that will appear whenever you go to the link that I will share once we get this posted live. So whenever you pull up here, this is what you will see. There are going to be 5 different dashboards. The top 3 are going to include all of the information that we have from 2010 to 2024. So the most recent 20 plus years of population estimates that we have been provided, as well as births, deaths, and migration statistics. Down here at the bottom, I have it segmented by 2010 to 2020 and also 2020 to 2024. So kind of keeping that pre-pandemic and post-pandemic trends a little bit separated to where you can look at any variations that may have happened in that time. So whenever we're in our dashboard here, you can easily just go to population estimates and dynamics of change. And whenever you click on that, it will pull up our handy little dashboard here, which is going to show us all of the different bar charts for births, deaths, natural increase, both international and domestic migration, our net migration here, and then overall population estimates and population change. Now, whenever you pull up any of these dashboards, this is going to be the general appearance of all of it. I can adjust font sizes and anything like that. So if we need to make this a little bit bigger, or if we're having any issues with finding things, please let me know and I can get all of that adjusted. But for now, this is the basic arrangement of all of the data. So for here, as I said, everything is going to be included from 2010 to 2024. So all of the data for these individual characteristics will be there. Now, whenever, let's just say you wanted to look at births in 2020, whenever you click into this, it is going to highlight all of the others as well. Normally, this will not pull it to the single bar graph. I have to get that fixed to where it will just highlight the regular bar graph to where it will leave all of these and just select like that. It is only doing it with certain years. So this right here is going to highlight that year across all of the different metrics for you, so that it's going to be more easily read, to where if you need to know births, deaths, migration, all of that in 2022, you hover over, it is going to give you your general statistics for that specific measure. Right now, I have it pulled up for Baltimore City. You can easily go up here on your left-hand side. We have a lovely little drop-down menu to where we can hop on over to Anne Arundel, and here we go. It's going to pull up all of your adjusted information for you. I do have it to where it is only the single option right now for selection. I am working on it to where we can get a comparative dashboard pulled up, to where you'll be able to look at multiple counties side by side if you do have interest in that. It's just not ready at present. So general setup, nothing too complicated here. You can switch around between any counties that we may have interest in viewing. You can see all of these adjustments and changes as we move through the years. And this is just going to be your general information on your demographics for anything that you may need with providing information to other members of your teams, additional stakeholders, yourselves, whatever you may need it for. So this is kind of that home dashboard that will present everything. At the top left of every one of these dashboards, you'll see the home button here. Whenever you click that, it's going to bring you back to our original landing page, where then we can move on to, you'll see if you wanted to look at components of change. So we have our births by county, deaths, natural increase, and net migration. So all of the different characteristics that we're going to be looking at for the core components of change, or what leads to population growth. Again, you click, it'll be able to highlight everything for you. You can isolate this by jurisdiction just to make it a little bit more helpful for everyone to view. I also have it segmented out by BMC jurisdiction versus those outside of. You'll see that within the little green coloring versus the blue. And that is the general look of the majority of what we have here. Now, whenever we look here, this is going to show you your percent of population change due to net migration and natural increase. So again, we can click on Baltimore City, and this is just going to show you the general share of the impact of population change versus on natural increase versus net migration. So births and deaths over here with our natural increase, net migration here. Obviously, I pulled this up so you can see that kind of hard shift to where you'll see the decrease of the share of natural increase in population change and the increase in migration, just particularly for Baltimore City. This is not going to be in everywhere. You can pull it up here. You'll get to see different fluctuations. Again, this is just going to show you independent jurisdictions and their share of net migration versus natural increase as their share of population change impact. Here, you will have the full view of everything that we have seen previously and any of these other dashboards, specifically for 2010 to 2020. So you will have your births, deaths, natural increase, migration, total population change, and then this share down here as well. So this is going to provide you all of the statistics that you'll need. Is just segmented by that year delineation. So we'll have 2010 to 2020, and then 2020, 2024. Same characteristics as the other dashboards. Whenever you click into that, it will highlight for you. For the bottom statistics, you will have to change this over in this top drop down menu here. I am trying to work on it to where this will as well highlight in these sections, but I haven't quite figured out the filter for that yet. But could be forthcoming whenever we get this posted. And whenever we click back to the home page, it's going to be the same dashboard that you'll see as we previously had for that 2010 to 2020 view. It's just going to be for 2020 to 2024. So all those same statistics that we've been looking at and we'll continue to discuss just within these specific year timeframes. This does include all jurisdictions throughout Maryland that was available or that are available within this data. And again, this is the working dashboard that we have right now. It is meant to be a much more accessible version versus what I presented in April. So this provides the data for everyone here. So any questions, comments? I'm here.
This is really nice.
Thanks, Jeff.
So is this linked directly to the census API, or is it?
No, I have downloaded the data separately. I cleaned it and put it into a more Tableau accessible format.
Got it.
Using it directly via API, I mean, I'm sure you'll know how the data comes out. It is not necessarily friendly to integrate into other programs.
Yeah.
But this is linked directly to just a clean version of the PEP file, which I can share as well.
Got it.
But it's just formatted differently to where it's making sure that we have the same headers for variable names to ensure that everything is being pulled across all of these different spreadsheets.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's probably hard to make it work directly like that. I mean, because there's always issues. Yeah,
it is. So this is a specific package. It's not going to link directly to our servers. This is going to be a package that will be attached with the file whenever it's uploaded to Tableau. So there shouldn't be any direct lag there. And it's a file that I'll be able to update as we get these additional rounds of information in. As I was mentioning, we should have a new drop from the population estimates on Friday. So as I can get that data cleaned in, we may be able to show different statistics in there, like birth by age group or age cohort, and deaths by that as well, and break that down by race to where we can have more dashboards here that will be able to provide more information. But I will keep this as kind of that central mainframe per se, so wherever it is, this is where you will go to access it.
that's interesting. We just had a meeting this morning with our Office of Aging, who wanted to look at age by race. So it sounds like
Well,
we pointed out that the data should be coming out soon. Did you
Yeah.
say you think it's coming out this week or something? Or
the census has it embargoed until the 26th,
oh, I
which
see.
normally means they're going to drop it the day after.
Okay, that's good to know.
So fingers crossed. They haven't issued any other guidance other than it was posted that they said on the 10th of this month that on the 24th they would be embargoed from the 24th to the 26th.
Okay.
And that'll normally indicate that the day after they'll be releasing it. So I'm hoping on the 27th we will get this updated data and I can start playing with it then, and I can let y'all know whenever I can get it updated.
Okay.
It's
Well,
now that I've got the files cleaned and kind of all of it set up,
yeah.
it should be pretty easy to get it transferred in. So, but yeah, I can definitely reach out whenever I have that data and whenever we have it posted. That way, I'm hoping that this can just be something that you can share with people who are asking questions like this
Right.
to
That's what I'm
where,
thinking. Yeah.
yeah, since this is going to be on Tableau Public, it
Mhm.
will be freely available to anyone who has access.
Nice. All
So,
right.
yeah,
It's good to know. Good timing. Yeah.
yeah, it's meant to be kind of an accessibility tool to where the census has never been very friendly with their data releases for people who are not accustomed to using census data. So I'm hoping that this will be something that'll be easier and a little bit more valuable for all of us.
Right. Exactly. Okay. Yeah. Great.
All right.
Can you,
Yeah.
you'll be providing the links to this. I also find when I go to the BMC site that it's kind of hard to find like the cooperative forecasting group stuff. You kind of have to
Okay.
look around, and I think I can only find the meetings, but not, you know, not the presentations and things like that. So
Would it be helpful if I were to include links here on this dashboard that may direct you to other CFG resources? That way this can
maybe,
be,
but
okay.
just like with the presentations and things where we can just where we can easily find it. I'm having difficulty just finding the cooperative forecasting group stuff. So,
Okay.
so if you can send us some links, easy links.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So I know I can see on here that there's a link provided, except I don't, so if I can access this presentation, I would have that link.
Yeah. And I can start sending all of the presentations directly
Yeah,
via
that would be
email
good
as
too.
well.
That's helpful too, because I like to be
Okay.
able to download them and put them in a meeting folder, that kind of stuff.
Oh yeah, for sure. I can definitely start sending those.
All right. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Any other general questions or comments about anything presented here? Again, this is meant to be a feedback session before this goes live. So anything other things that you would like to see here or just general presentation notes, let me know.
Hey, Matt, this is Greg
Hey.
Goodwin down here at COG. So what will you do next year when the new vintage 2025 data? Will you have some way of maintaining this vintage as well, and then you'll just update it with the newer data, or?
Yeah, my plan will be to probably create a archive site section of this to where we'll be able to break it down by year, to where maybe whenever this were to load, there'll be a section up here to where it'll be 2024, 2025, something along those lines. But I am intending to use this as a tool that can be updated to where every year we won't have to put out a new version of it or be looking for different access sites. So whenever version vintage 2025 comes out, I can send an update to all of you being just letting you know, hey, the dashboard's been updated. Here you go. And it'll still be the same link, same kind of setup, just that additional data. But thanks for calling that out. I definitely want to keep this going to where more data can just be added.
Matt, this is Krishna Kundi with the Maryland Department of Planning. I had a question. You have at the bottom of this dashboard, I'm looking at the that landing page. You have components of change 2010, 2020, and also components of change 2020, 2024. Obviously, both of those are not comparable. So I was wondering, do you have a qualifier or a note saying that they're not comparable?
No, but I can definitely put that in there.
Yeah, because as you probably know, every 10 years, the Census Bureau changes the methodology. So
Mhm.
2010, 2020 is not comparable with 2020, 24.
I'll definitely include a note on that, but it changes their kind of baseline estimates as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for sure. I'll put that in there. You see, these are the questions that I would have had to answer if I would have posted this without discussing this here. Anyone else have anything they would like to share about that?
I like the way that we'll be able to share it with others, and they can easily pull up the information. And it's kind of, you can follow it, and I think a lot of my coworkers will easily be able to find information on there, and it'll be a good tool for them.
That is the intention. As I was saying, the data is not necessarily friendly to users who are not familiar with census data, and it never has been, and it likely never will be. So presenting it in a more accessible form like this is something that I think is going to be really valuable. All right.
And it'll take a little playing around to get in there and see it, and get more familiar with it. But
Absolutely.
might have some feedback after that. Yep.
Yeah, and once it goes live, there could be issues with accessing it on Tableau Public that I don't see because I'm using it on my Tableau desktop. So if any issues like that come up, feel free to shoot me an email. I can include my email in that dashboard as well for any questions or comments. That way, I'll be able to kind of adjust this on a rolling basis.
Is Tableau public, how does that work? I guess you purchase Tableau or have a license for Tableau desktop. If you want to make it public, is that a licensing thing too?
It's part of the licensing that we have.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're able
It's just for being able to access the particular server to post to Tableau Public. However, if you are just accessing it and not adding to it, you don't need a Tableau subscription or membership at all. You'll be able to click into the website.
I see.
To download the data, you may have to set up an account, but Tableau Public has free accounts. They're meant to be free.
I see.
And it's pretty generally accessible, I think.
Yeah. And it's just a way to put it on their servers for public access rather than set it up internally in your servers for public.
Right.
Okay. Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else on the dashboards? Any other questions, comments? Okay, hearing nothing, we'll move on to the next item on the agenda, which is employment estimate ratios for 2025. And Matt, you're
Back to
on
me
again.
again. All right, let me get this pulled up for everyone. All right. One second, everybody. PowerPoint is deciding to not want to work for me. Okay. Will it? Okay. Can everybody see it in the presenter view? Or just in general?
Yes.
My slides have pulled up.
Yes.
All right. So this, again, is just going to be a discussion about updated employment ratios. As everyone here is likely very aware, the quarterly census of employment and wages their monthly employment data is representing the number of workers who have worked during or received pay for the pay period that is reported at the 12th of that month. These cover employees in private sector, state, local governments, include most corporate officials, executives, etc. This is going to be people who are available and reported for receiving unemployment insurance. Again, there are certain restrictions to that, but in general, we are covering a good chunk of the population. This is going to actually cover, as they report, QC covers roughly 94% of what we expect to be the working population. So this is going to primarily exclude workers not covered by state unemployment insurance laws. So this will include self-employed individuals who are unincorporated. Thank you for calling that earlier, Kathleen. Unpaid family workers, certain agricultural and domestic workers. It'll exclude specific roles in federal government, depending on clearance and elected officials and anything of that nature. This will also exclude some agricultural workers and domestic workers as well, and rail workers, as they have their own unemployment insurance system. So again, covering a good chunk of the population, but we are missing about 6% in there somewhere, it is estimated. So with that, we will normally go to BEA. BEA, the Bureau of Economic Analysis, presented a file that was broken down at the county and sub-county level. So this would be counties, micro and metropolitan statistical areas, pretty much everywhere at the county level and below, as well as the state, we would be able to have these this data. So this would include those that we were being missed in the QCW, or those that were not included for this unemployment insurance claims. However, due to budget constraints, this program was shuttered in November 24. The last data that we will have available is from November of 2023. That data is the data that was used in updating our last round of ratios, but now there has to be new data because BEA will no longer be producing this. So to do that, we can find different data substitutions. There are a few options. I have listed them here. There is proprietary data, which is things that we will have to buy. They are largely going to be based on estimates and market analysis. And as they are based on estimates, they are not really valuable for providing a type of baseline estimation for our forecasts. There is the LAUS, which will also include QCW data, and it is dependent upon that and their own calculations. There is current employment statistics, which will only be available at the state and metro level. So my recommendation is that we use the American Community Survey. The problem with that is going to be release schedule. The one-year file will be released in September for 2024. However, that will exclude Queen Anne's County, as one-year files only include populations that are over 65,000. The 5-year file will, fingers crossed, be released in December, which will include all of our populations. At present, we can use the BLS and ACS statistics to compare it for 2023 and try to apply that to 2024. But right now, we do not have any American Community Survey results that can be used from 2024. So this is going to be what we're looking at in general for employment change 2020, 2024, as reported in the QCEW. So again, this is just meant to show general trends where you can see a slight recovery among a lot of populations that were largely experienced a good bit of population change right around the pandemic. So we're starting to see that slow increase again. Which will bring us to overall population change. I presented this in our last meeting in April to just show general population trends and where we're moving with that. The only real note here is that Baltimore City reversed its trend from 10 years of losses to finally reporting a gain in population. Hopefully that will be continued, but that remains to be seen. So we're looking at updating these ratios for our new forecasts. This is not necessarily complicated math, but it does need to be something that we can look at and make sure that it is covering current trends or keeping up with them at least. So for this, based on the previous ratios that we've used, I have come up with these two options. Option A is in the blue, option B is in yellow. Right here, you'll see our trends and our ratios from 2020 to 2024 and how those were changed. Slight increases for most, some up and down here and there. Option A, I used by doing a 10-year annual average growth rate. So that would be from what was reported in BEA and QCEW up until 2023. Along with comparing that with the 10-year average from the American Community Survey, from the 2 5-year files that are most recently available. With that, you will see that these ratios are more representative of a longer term trend. So they are not as susceptible to recent changes in employment and population changes as ratio B would be. Option B is going to only take into account the past 5 years. So this is largely going to speak to any type of post-pandemic recovery or decline, depending on what area we're in, and will largely be more respondent to recent trends. There is not that large of a difference between these two ratios. However, whenever you are applying this to hundreds of thousands, we can get some significant variations. For instance, for Baltimore County, in option B, you'll see that we will actually be reducing employment by using this ratio rather than adding any employees to it. So instead of accounting for what we would be saying is that missing 6%, that would actually be leading to a decline in the estimate of overall employment. Whereas option A, while sometimes it does show that slight decrease, it is going to be less of an impact than with option B. We can have discussion on this. I can send all this out, obviously. This is not meant to be right now. You can have time to look at this, discuss it with others. I recommend option A, personally, as it covers a longer term trend and will provide a little bit more stability with any adjustments and comparable to different forecasts.
Matthew,
But again,
Okay.
can you define what that ratio is?
it is meant to be applied to our QCW figures. So anytime that we get those QCW numbers in, it is meant to be basically your multiplier. To where
What is it? What's the ratio? It's what divided by what?
Oh, that's going to be the ratio is going to be the QCW numbers compared to the BLS numbers that were released for the most recent year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
So it's going to be QCW over BLS. And
Okay.
then for the first one, that was compared with the trend in ACS population as well.
Okay.
So this ratio captures self-employment.
Yes.
So
Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
Because-
This is meant to account for all of those that are not being
So it should
reported as
include-
eligible for
so-
that UI.
So it should increase, be higher
Yes.
than the QCW. Okay.
Yes, in general, that is what it is meant to do. Where my concern with that option B there that I have presented is that it would be reducing employment across Baltimore County, which is just not going to happen. So I don't really see that as a viable option, but I wanted to present it nonetheless, as it does show what using a 5 versus a 10-year trend will do for adjusting these ratios. I
All
think that including a more representative historical trend, as is in option A, 2024A, I think that this is going to give us a much more reliable forecast or an expectation of what employment is. It definitely still accounts for some of those post-pandemic recoveries or declines, but it is less of a significant adjustment. I mean, for Baltimore City, it would say relatively flat. For a lot of these, it's a relatively flat adjustment. We're going from 1.1 to 1.09, for instance. Like, it's not going to be that drastic of a change.
And what's the difference between BLS, which is also a federal thing? So is BLS then also include self-employed?
The BLS data will.
It will, okay. So we're just using BLS rather than the no longer BEA data.
Yes,
Okay.
at present.
At present,
Yeah.
right. Because that's no longer there. I didn't realize BLS included self-employed. I was always under the impression that it was only BEA that did that.
Yeah, I mean, I thought the BLS was provided
That's
the
what I thought.
QCEW.
Yeah,
And
sorry.
not the self-employment, and
I
then,
got BLS and BEA confused for a second
Okay.
there. No, BLS is going to be the QCEW data.
So what's
That-
what explains the ratio? Why is BLS higher than QCEW then?
That's the BEA, sorry.
Oh,
The BEA data is the data that will be adjusting for that gap. So that is the number that will have the higher representation of employment versus QCEW. So
but
that's
you're
why
saying are these ratios based on BEA then?
yes, the
Oh,
current ones are using BEA data
got
from
it.
the
So
most
this is
recent
BEA.
2023.
Okay.
Yes,
All right.
that's why
So-
I was recommending the new additional ACS data instead of using BEA going forward.
Going forward,
Because-
we can maybe use it here for now at least.
Yes, for now, we're good.
Got it.
Going
got it, got
forward,
it.
we'll have to make the adjustments using hopefully ACS data, as that will account for the self-employed that are not reported in QCEW.
all right, so right now, we don't have to
Right now,
worry
there are
about
no
the
data
ACS.
changes.
We
No.
don't have to worry about the ACS figure. We just multiply the QCEW.
Correct.
Because my understanding is that the ACS is quite high, and that's why there was the ratio to kind of knock it down.
The ACS is extremely high. It overestimates employment at almost every single round. So that is why I will have to continue to work on adjusting that ratio. And this can be a conversation that we'll have over the next year or so, until this data can be updated. But ACS is definitely over-reporting from what BEA did and is significantly higher than QCEW figures in the majority of jurisdictions, to where we'll have to figure out a way to adjust that ratio or compare it to previous BLS release or BEA releases to see maybe what that gap is and how we can try to accommodate for that. But just to confirm, this is BEA data that we're using still present. So we are good there. Any other questions?
So it could be that if we decide to do a 2025 base year, which I guess we're going to be doing not this year, but next year maybe, then we could still maybe use these ratios based on historical BEA, perhaps.
Yeah.
Since it's so close. I mean, since it ended in 2023, we're looking at 2025, we can look at historical ratios, use that. Of course, if we, moving forward in 2030, if this is done every 5 years, then there would need to be a different kind of methodology.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, Greg, did you have anything?
Yeah, just a quick question. How do you take into account military employment?
That is a good question. I remember we bringing this up, or this was discussed at the last meeting that I attended on your end, and that is still a question that we're dealing with. I'm not estimating that it will be impacted in a drastic measure, but we are going to be missing some of that military employment. And as those statistics are not being reported, uh, it's I am open to any thoughts that y'all have. Have y'all had any more discussion on your end?
Well, we've been talking about it as a staff. What we would like to include, and I'd be happy to talk at a future meeting about our methodology because we're talking about these same issues. The military was something that we were dependent on our local jurisdictions having contacts with their local military bases to provide to COG an estimation of active duty employment. And in the last 3 or 4 years, that has become extremely difficult for some of our members to be making these cold calls, and nobody wants to give that number out. So last year, we changed to adopting the BEA military estimate, which is not only active duty, but includes reserve and National Guard. So we're kind of double counting some of those people because those people also have other 9 to 5 jobs, and some of those reservists are only working 1 or 2 days a weekend. So it wasn't perfect, but that's what we were looking at, is using the BEA number. So now that number has been discontinued. We do have another data source, S&P Global. They do provide estimations of military, which is not the ideal military that we want to include, but it's better than nothing. And we're still, I still have not had a conversation with S&P about how they're developing that military, but it just looks like that they're kind of extrapolating the BEA data from previous years and just coming up with estimates going into the future. Again,
I think so
this
as well.
is such a small percentage of employment. It may be good enough for right now, but at some point we may need to go back and try to get a more accurate active duty account. I know you have Fort Meade, which is a pretty significant employer, and but we have a couple bases down here: Fort Belvoir, Andrews Air Force Base, Fort Detrick. So we have a couple of them too. But that's kind of what we're doing right now. But I would think that probably in the next year or two we may go back and re-examine that again. So,
and if you do get any information from S&P on how they calculate those estimates, please feel free to shoot that over to me because I have those same questions as well.
Yeah, it seems like the last couple of years the military has kind of decaying, or it's declining ever so slightly. And if you look in their forecasts, because they go all the way out to like 2052 or 2053 now, you can just see that number is relatively flat, but it does decline a little bit. So yeah, I'd be happy to talk to you more about that.
All right, thanks.
So I just put a link. There's Richard Clinch, who has worked in Howard County as a consultant as part of our, he's also a Howard County resident, but he works as part of the Spending Affordability Advisory Committee. He's in charge of the Jacob France Institute at University of Baltimore. Whenever he presents to that group, to the Spending Affordability Committee in Howard County, he seems to have that data about the folks that work at NSA and the federal workforce stuff. So maybe S&P. So it's just a resource if you wanted to reach out to him.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Yeah.
Thanks. To move on from this slide is just a more general discussion of why we would use the ACS versus other available data. Kind of what we just discussed over the past few minutes, so not much really to include there. Again, I would recommend using that 10-year forecast over the 5-year. Plus, with that, while those ratios are a little bit higher, that may help to account for that military population that we may be missing. So just additional thought to keep in mind there. While there is that S&P data, I'm apprehensive about using estimates to produce estimates, even though a lot of the time it's the best data that we can get, and we can obviously make a note of that. But again, I would be interested to see how they're doing that calculation, because I think it is a same kind of historical BLS kind of estimate that they're working with. So overall, I think that 10-year is going to be the most statistically valuable and kind of more defensible and data-driven option that we can go for. So that would be the one that I would recommend moving forward with at present. But happy to go back and we can try and adjust these ratios some. I can share calculations with anyone. I have it all in a spreadsheet that I can send over if anyone's interested. But that was about it for me. And if anybody has questions, obviously there's my email. You should all have that.
With regard to the employment projections, for me, it would be extremely rough, particularly getting numbers, particularly by TAS, because we don't have a lot of information, on how many employees employers have. We might just have a list of main employers.
Right.
At one point, you guys had provided what was called like a master list, or some with geocoded, addresses and things. I don't know if that's something that you'll be providing again, or I know we had to sign a confidentiality agreement.
That was actually the next thing on my list. That
okay.
is number 3, the additional information. If it's fine with everyone to move on from here, we can, and I can talk about that real quick.
Just have one
Okay.
comment. I just
Yeah,
want to
go
say, I agree with your assessment that it's best not to use purchase data, given our experience in the past. It is expensive. It's not transparent, as you said. We've looked at it before and questioned, how do they come up with this? It doesn't even make sense. So it's available, so people use it. Consultants tend to use it, but I agree with you. It's just not, it's not worth it really in the end.
Especially, there are addendums and their little notes that they include that their processes can't be backtracked, or that they don't like their data being used for producing external estimates. Makes it appear that that is what they are doing themselves,
Right.
and don't want anyone copying their methodology.
Exactly. And my experience is, like, a consulting company would use it because they need a source.
Yes.
So they source it, but for our purposes, it just, there's no need for that.
I think it's a little too in the weeds.
Yeah.
All right. Well, with that, we can move on to our next item, if that is fine with everyone here, which is going to be a CFG member update. And that update is speaking directly to what Kathleen was just mentioning, the master establishment file. So that is going to be the QCEW data that is provided to us. I will be cleaning that and putting it back into, I have the files that Sean has shared with you previously. So if everyone is fine with that same formatting, I will adhere to that and follow that to where nobody is really looking at a brand new formatted file that they're not familiar with. I am hopefully going to have the data from Q4 of 2024 from the QCEW within the next week. After that time, I can start putting together the master file itself. So that full Q1 to Q4 annual file from QCEW that will make up the master establishment file. And I can then share that with everyone here. As hopefully everyone, as last I checked, everyone has an updated confidentiality agreement signed. So it can be uploaded to the shared folder that we should all have access to. And Whenever that is done, I will let everyone know. And that is the main update on that. The master establishment file will be coming. It is just in process. It will be the same thing that you've been looking at before, to where we'll have this broken down by TAS, and I will have it for each jurisdiction as well. So this should be a very similar file to what you've experienced in the past, just updated results.
And then I might have missed it. What quarter was it? What year? Is it 20?
We're in 2024. So I'm waiting to get to
Okay.
Q4. Yeah. So
Okay.
it will be the most recently available round of QCW data for a
Okay.
full measure of
And the
it.
intent is for us to provide you with our latest updated projections of
Correct.
employment
Based on that.
population. But the base year is still 2020, right?
Correct.
Okay, so we could maybe use this if we wanted to adjust our current estimates of 2025. However, next year, the intent is the base year to be 2025, right? So that's really when I would think that would be most valuable for us, is to create a new base year
Okay.
2025. But we could use it in the interim, as you're saying, right? That's sort of the.
Yeah.
Okay, I just wanted clarification of what's intended this December. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
We are not changing that base year at present.
Okay.
We're still using 2020. We use the most recently available decennial. So
Got it.
that's what we've got.
Yeah.
Imperfections and all.
Yeah.
And that was really the main update there, because that is going to be an essential document for all of you with updating any forecasts. So I want to get that to you relatively soon. Just data access issues and putting it all together for you. But yeah.
And also, do you have like an update on the visual on the schedule of when these forecasts are due, or
We have it presently. I don't have the graphic pulled up right now,
Okay.
but it has it to where we are currently in the forecasting round, to where we have it on our end laid out on the calendar from, I believe, May through December of this year. So we are looking.
So we should have forecasts by December.
For end of year is what we have on the
Okay.
calendar. Yes. It may be November. Again, I do not have it in front of me. I don't want to tell lies. I will send an email to have everyone updated for sure.
Okay.
It is in the last email that I sent as well, but that's going to require some digging. But yeah, I will get that sent out to everyone today.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, of
Matt,
course.
just a question on my
Yeah.
end. So this is going to be BMC round 10.1,
10A, I believe, is what we're calling it. But
10A.
yes,
10A. Okay. And the base year will be 2020, and you're going to forecast to 2050 or 2055.
our current round 10 goes to 2050. So we're going out to 2055 with 10A.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
And our forecast also includes group quarters.
Correct.
Separated out. Okay.
And when you get the master file, the fourth quarter of 2024 employment master file, will we need to allot some time to sort through that for some of our larger employers and making sure their distribution of employment is correct as we've done in the past? Or is that?
I'm going to be doing some of that on my end, but I
Okay.
will definitely be asking for kind of a data check from.
Okay, so we'll talk about that during our next meeting.
Yeah, exactly. So once y'all have the file, I'll send that out with a few kind of notes to where hopefully I will be able to see these larger employers. I will have them kind of segmented off, as I believe they have been in previous files. And then for individual jurisdictions to look at them and say, okay, this looks about right, or this is way off. And we can kind of go from there. I'm going to try and get it as similar to previous files before, to where this won't be any major change for anyone, and we'll be able to go through that. But yeah, it's going to need that kind of,
Okay, well, we're a little ahead of ourselves, I guess, so we'll
yeah.
see where we are at our next meeting, and
Yeah.
be able to have that discussion.
Yep.
All right, anything else on the forecast updates?
And I'm not seeing anything in the chat either.
Okay, any other business for the cooperative forecasting group? Matt or anybody else? Okay, hearing none, that completes our agenda. Anything else for the good of the group? Any comments, discussions, upcoming events? Okay, hearing none, then that completes our meeting. So thank you all very much for being here, and appreciate everybody attending. And our next meeting will be August 26th. So we will see everybody then.
Okay, thank you.
All right,
Bye-bye.
thank you.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
Matthew.
Thanks, everyone.
Yeah, bye.
Thank you. Thank you.